There's some people that have trouble doing this.
If you would give me just a moment. We can do it.
We're going to do it after the pledge before the moment of silence.
Yeah, we'll do it after the pledge before the moment of silence. That'd be fine. Hopefully I can get through it.
Thank you. All right. Good evening. We're going to go ahead and call this meeting, February 13th, Kildova Hills Board of Commissioners meeting to order. I will apologize in advance for my croaky voice and try to speak as loudly as I may tonight, but bear with me, fighting the stuff that's going around, the sinus stuff. So welcome, everyone. We will start our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, if you'll please rise. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we proceed with our moment of silence, Commissioner Buskey has requested the floor for a moment.
Y'all bear with me. Hopefully I can get through this. Y'all know my dad passed away recently, and it's been tough. I mean, my dad was my hero. He made me who I am today, and it's been really tough. But it's amazing the support, the phone calls, the emails, the cards, and all that I've gotten from people. It's just amazing how much support that I've gotten from everybody. So just wanted to thank everybody for their support. And I'm trying to put together a service down here. He lived in Raleigh, some of y'all know. So I'm trying to put together a service. In the next couple of weeks, I'll get word out to everybody once we get something put together. But thanks everybody for their support, especially the board, Debbie, Steve. I appreciate it.
Okay. We will, in our moment of silence, and Paul certainly continue to express our condolences and think of you and your family. And I'd also like to ask everyone to continue to keep the Guard family in their thoughts and prayers. And with that, we'll take a moment of silence. Okay. All right, next on the agenda is the approval of the agenda.
Make a motion we approve the agenda as submitted.
Second that.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, let's
Why not?
having some technical difficulty over here. Okay. The first item on our agenda tonight is the public hearing. This is, there's just one public hearing that will be conducted this evening, and the following rules of procedure will apply. Basically, the notice was published and is run in the paper, the town clerk, and Harriet is filling in for us this evening for Mary. She'll record all oral comments. Written statements, if anyone has one, can be submitted. We do ask if you're here to speak on the public comment, or excuse me, on the public hearing. For an individual, please limit your comments to 3 minutes. If you're speaking on behalf of a group, you can have 5 minutes. The public hearing this evening is for the purpose of our board to receive comments from the public regarding Chapter 153 zoning, Bianca Stevens, Section 153.076. It's off-street parking and loading to add astrology and tarot card reading to the off-street parking and loading table. and Section 153.176 commercial zone permitted uses to add astrology and tarot card reading as a permitted use. No one signed up ahead of time to speak during public comment, but certainly we will, in case you missed it. You don't have to sign up ahead of time, so if anyone is here and would like to speak at public comment, if you'll just raise your hand and we'll call you to the podium. If you do approach the podium to speak, we ask that you identify yourself by name and residence. So is anyone here this evening to speak at public comment? Anyone? No? Okay. Well, we will close public comment and the board will discuss this issue. So, open it up for discussion.
I'd like to say I support the amendment request for the tarot card and astrology. When I first heard about this, I was thinking that maybe it should have been a conditional use. But in talking to the planning staff, they explained that there's nothing in the there's nothing specific about this that would cause any negative consequences, such as, if any of you remember the doggy daycare issue we had here, there was several things, more than several maybe, things about that could pop up as problems later on, like safety and noise and odor and security for the dogs, and that's an instance where the conditional use was appropriate. But in this case, I don't see anything like that, so I do support it as becoming a permitted use.
Okay, thank you.
Really, I mean, this isn't my cup of tea, but y'all didn't get that cup of tea leaves. Okay. Thank you for those who did get that.
Humor.
Yeah. But I agree with Mike. I don't see anything that this would be negative. We can give it a shot. I know there were some concerns from one or two people at the last meeting, but I don't think we should be narrow-minded and group this just into some bad experiences or bad locations in other localities. If this is something that somebody wants to do, and I think they've got the right to do it.
Okay, thank you.
And I tend to think the same way. It's one of those things that as long as it meets the zoning and the ordinances, I think it's something that we need to agree with, and not, as you say, be so narrow-minded as to say, just because it's this type of business. I don't think that's our job to say just because it's this we don't want to do it, because that's not what we're here to do. Because if we allow this and not this and this and not this, we're crossing a fine line into doing something we don't want to do. So yes, I say I'm in full support of it.
Okay, thank you. I too am in support of this. I tried to go to Manio and find Bianca's, because she has an operation in Manio, but I didn't have success finding it. So I'm not sure what I did wrong. I put it in my GPS, but I didn't find the location. So I did go on the website, and there is a website, easy to navigate, listed the services that she offers at the Manio store. So found it interesting, but certainly don't see that it's in any way inconsistent with what we desire for our town. So that being said, a motion would be in order, based on the discussion here, to approve this. So someone want to make the motion? Or?
I make a motion that we approve the proposed zoning amendment Is this what are we?
A couple pages.
Yes.
Read this, and then add. Read this, do consistent, reasonable, and then add consistent at the very end right there.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, there it is.
Just start right now.
The Board of Commissioners finds that this requested amendment to Chapter 153, Section 153.076, off-street parking and loading, to add astrology and tarot card reading to the off-street parking and loading table, and Section 153.176, commercial zoning permitted uses, to add astrology and tarot card reading as a permitted use, consistent with all comprehensive plans and plans or other officially adopted plans of the town of Kildeville Hills that are applicable, and officially adopted plans of the town of Kildeville Hills, I think I said that twice, that are applicable, and that the amendment is reasonable in the public interest because it allows additional types of businesses for residents and visitors in town and greater opportunities within our business community. Thank you.
Good motion. Okay, is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, please signal by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, great. And for those of you in the audience, it is kind of a scripted thing. It's very technical. This is where I try to break through some of the jargon, but when it comes down to making motions and wanting to be official, you have to do basically and go through the process what Brandy did. So as new commissioners to some of this, it's a learning process. So thank you for the teachable moment up here, but that was good. So, okay. All right. So picking back up on the agenda, next on the agenda is public comment. This is a time where you in the audience, we welcome you to come forward to the podium if you have anything that you would like to share with the board this evening. If you're speaking on behalf of yourself as an individual, we ask you to keep your comments to 3 minutes, and if you're here speaking or presenting on a group, it's 5 minutes. So if we didn't have anyone sign up ahead of time for public comment, but if you are interested in speaking, if you'll just raise your hand and we'll ask you to approach the lectern. Would anyone like to speak at public comment? Mr. Alm.
James Almany, 113 Porthole Court. When I looked at the agenda for tonight, I believe I saw it in the mayor's agenda, talking about the meetings being videotaped. And I heard before that the training was free, and I don't know if the town would be interested in a volunteer to kind of take part in that, maybe help out with the videotaping, since I usually am here every night for meetings, whether it's helping to set up or take down or actually doing the videotape. But I wanted to throw that out there because I am interested. Thanks.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Chip.
you.
Is anyone else interested in speaking at public comment this evening? Okay. There will be another opportunity later on in the meeting. Next is response to public comment.
All right. How are you going to offer comments if you're going to be taping?
Might be a good thing.
Chip, if you don't mind, when we get to that section in the agenda tonight, we'll bring that up. But thank you very much for your offer. I think we can factor that in our discussion. Okay. Anyone else have a comment? Okay. Next on the agenda, introductions and presentations. We don't have a formal presentation tonight or introduction, but I would like to introduce our new town attorney. Some of you may know Steve Michael, but if not, and you see a new face here, this is Steve Michael with the Graham Sharp, Michael, and Graham. So we welcome it. It was made official. We had 2 special meetings where we went through the approval process, reviewed the contract, which the board unanimously agreed was a very favorable contract to the town, very good terms. So we are happy to have you on board and welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Okay. Next is old business, and there's not any old business to conduct, so we'll move right into new business. The first item under new business is Diane Uchant. Not sure if I'm saying that correctly. The request to place memorial bench at the 3rd Street neighborhood sound access. And Greg or Debbie, is that one of you that would may want to introduce this, or?
I'll be happy to. Yes, this lady's sister recently passed away, and the 3rd Street neighborhood beach access was one of her favorite places to visit. And the sister, Diane, has asked the town's permission to donate this this bench, the one that you see in the memo with the butterfly, in honor of her sister. There at the 3rd Street beach access, and we think it's a lovely idea and thought, and would like the board's permission to allow her to do that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll open the floor for discussion.
I think this is great. I think it'll be a great addition to our town. Only concern I have with this is probably going to start becoming more and more popular, and we're going to run out of space for people to put things like this. I mean, but I think this is great that this lady's willing to do this in honor of her sister.
I agree. And I agree that it probably will become more popular. And my only concern with that is that if it does become more popular, that we might want to look into some sort of not necessarily a policy, because you don't want to do policies on everything, but maybe some sort of and this one definitely is not a problem because it's very nice and very safe, but we may want to look into making sure that we have some sort of conformity, that it's structurally sound and whatever, but I don't know.
Plan and some standards, maybe.
Thank you.
Yes.
We'll probably come up with that.
Yeah, I would also like to add too that along that line, I don't know, maybe Steve can answer this for me. If someone donates something like that to the town, if there's any kind of a mishap or anything, where would the liability lie?
Well, assuming there was some theory of liability, it's gonna belong to the town. It's gonna be yours.
Okay, good. Another thing too, I would anticipate more people wanting to do this. I actually hope more people would like to do this, because we can always use anything like that to accent our parks and our public areas. I think we should make sure, and I don't know how we would do this, that any kind of a message that's on there would be kind of appropriate. It should be tasteful, it should be unoffensive, and should be secular. And if it gets to that, like, I'm not sure, like you said, we necessarily need a policy, but there needs to be some way, I think, to be sure that we don't get out of hand on this. And I guess maybe Public Works would handle the placement of it and such. Randy, Parks and Rec?
Actually, it's the Buildings and Grounds Department. Ross is working
Okay.
with the planning department, and of course, Randy's department will be involved if there's any issues with that
Okay, cool.
also. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have. I'm in favor of it.
Great.
I mean, Sheila, I'd just add to that. I mean, I guess if there was definitely, if we had an identified need for this, we could do something like they did at the pier, where we could, we could put out an advertisement for, we could come up with something that we had and make it uniform and do something where they put their names on it, because they've got the little fish and the actual benches, but I don't know where we have a need for 15 benches, but if we identified a place where we did that, we could do something like that, and then they would be all.
Well, one thing that we can do, and I mean, we can cross this bridge when we get to it. I don't think we need to solve this problem tonight, because I don't think we have a bunch of people waiting in line. But when I was up at Chesapeake Hospital last year, for some reason, they have a beautiful little garden that's out in front of the hospital, and you can buy a brick paver and put somebody's name on in memory of so-and-so, where they've made a beautiful little garden out front. So you know, it's made, the pavers are put in, and then if somebody buys a paver, they just take it out, put a new one back in. So it's kind of an endless deal that, you know, we could always consider doing something like that over here in our park or something like that, where it would always, you know, there's always enough space
More
for
opportunity for people.
something like that. Unless somebody, you know, had an idea like this, they want to do something a little different.
Well, I too think this is will be a nice asset to our town. I think it's a great way to remember Anita Nugent. Is any of the family here tonight? Do you know of? Okay. And I think what you all are also bringing up about potential long-term or other people getting involved. I know once we can get our retreat scheduled, one of the things that's going to be on there is the vision and some of the discussion on that. So as we're looking into that, this may be something just to keep in the back of our minds that we bring up as well. So basically tonight we need a motion to basically approve this bench being placed at the 3rd Street Neighborhood Sound Access.
Make a motion, we approve new business item number 1.
I'll second it.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great. Okay, item number 2 is the recommendation to provide funding for Porthole Court closure. I would like to bring to everyone's attention, in case you don't know, I am a resident of Porthole Court. I live right at the, in case those of you in the audience may not know, I do live right at the corner of Porthole Court and Landing. So one of the first things I would like to ask Steve about is, before we have discussion and potentially take a vote on this tonight, if there's any reason I need to consider recusing myself from this.
As I understand it, the old board has already approved what you're voting on tonight. That all you're voting on tonight is the funding to do what the board approved back in September, is the way I read the minutes and looked at everything. And I do not see anything in the general statutes that requires you to recuse yourself. This is not one of those specific instances where you would need to step aside. You, as a resident of Porthole Court, derive the same benefits or lack of benefits that everybody else gets in voting on this. And the presumption in North Carolina is that the members of the board shall vote. You're a citizen, you have the same rights as every other citizen, but you also have a duty as a board member to vote. And unless you fit into one of those exceptions that requires you to be recused from this, and this one doesn't fit any of them at all, and there's no impropriety whatsoever in you voting on this matter.
Okay. Well, thank you. Okay, so now that that's clear, obviously I will participate, and with that, let's open the floor to discussion on this. And I guess maybe before we do that, Greg, can I call on you to kind of introduce this for us?
It's Randy's project, but I'll make my way
Or
through
if Randy wants to come forward? That's probably good.
I can do it for you if you want, Randy.
Don't fight over it.
But you'll hear
guys.
about it for days.
No, okay. Randy, thank you for coming forward.
He's gonna let me do it if you didn't.
This is to close Porthole Court at US 158. We'll be removing about 20 feet of pavement and then putting a concrete hammerhead there for a turnaround for emergency vehicles. We'll be putting shrubs across the front as a barricade for now, and it'll just become a cul-de-sac.
Okay. Thank you. I might ask if you'll just hang loose in case anyone has a question up here, but we'll open it for discussion or questions of the board.
Randy, seems like when we first looked at this, is this hammerhead different shape and smaller than the first one we looked at? Because it seemed like this is smaller than what we first were presented with.
It is because we had to use aerial photos in the first time around, and then we went to survey information, and it kind of shrunk it down a little bit, but it's still big enough for a fire truck to turn around or a trash truck.
So we still have the room for the fire truck, 'cause that was
Yes.
my main
Mhm.
concern, because this seems to be quite a bit smaller than what we saw the first time.
It is a 50-foot right-of-way, 50-foot
Okay.
wide.
And Debbie, I think most of the response we got from Porthole Court was positive to this.
Yes, sir. As an option, yes, sir.
Okay. And specifically, do you know if we heard from the 2 homeowners that are directly affected by this hammerhead? Where it's gonna, I mean, it's not encroaching, but it's right up to their setback.
I can speak to that.
Thank you.
We contacted them, and they're fine with it. I
Okay.
talked to both of them.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great idea. It's kind of unprecedented. It's the first time the board's made a move like this. But I think it's definitely gonna relieve a lot of the issues that the residents on Porthole Court have had with traffic, so. And I think I agreed with most of them that this is a great idea. I just hope this isn't one of those great ideas that comes back and bites us a couple years from now, that we don't see that this was not the best alternative, but I think this is gonna give the folks on that street what they were looking for. So, with that being said, I mean, I'm definitely in favor of doing this. I have been all along.
When are we looking to start this,
It'll
if
be
it's approved?
After the traffic light goes in.
Okay. I was just making sure we weren't gonna start it while Landon was still chopped off, so we couldn't get through it. That would be really bad. Sorry.
And who had the phone conversations with Lowe's?
I did. I spoke with Matthew Minton, and he indicated that they had enough going on that they weren't interested in
How hard
participating.
did you twist Matt's arm?
I'm sorry?
How hard did you twist Matt's arm?
Well, I mean, I can only ask him if he was interested, and he felt like they had enough going on.
I'm gonna call Matthew myself.
Okay.
So they weren't interested in partnering on sharing the cost here, right? Correct? Okay.
What is our projected timeline?
I'm sorry?
When do you think this is gonna start?
Well, as soon as we can get the contractor on it after the light goes in.
Do we have a projected time frame for the light?
They're out there setting the poles today. Probably within another week to 10 days. At least everything should be set up. Now, you got to get the lights up and get everything coordinated, get the trip wires installed in the pavement. There's a lot of coordination there, so I'm not sure what the actual timeline is, but they have till the end of the month.
Okay. Well, you know, I think we need to initiate conversation with Matt, because, Greg, you know how hard those COs are to get.
They can be a lot of complications at the end, because of, if they do their job though, and they meet all the requirements of the ordinance, and they're gonna get one.
They're tough to get sometimes, though.
Any other comments?
That was well put, Paul. Thank you.
Is that politically correct?
I think it is, yeah. No, I don't have any problem with it whatsoever. The funding of it.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
I don't either. I mean, I think it's one of the things that certainly this is now just putting the dollar amount to the plan that was approved back last year, actually. So a motion would be in order to do that. Now, I guess I certainly hear what you're saying, and if there was if you had any success with your phone call and them
I'm gonna work on that.
doing that, that would be great. But I hate to table this. I wouldn't want to not try to move forward with this.
and
If you can save the town money.
We can always.
We can amend it, yeah.
Is this coming out of this year's, excuse me, is this coming out of this year's street improvement?
What I would suggest
Budget?
is that your motion, as it stated there, an amount not to exceed the 19,870 from the street reserve funds. That way, if you're successful, Commissioner Buskey, in getting Lowe's participation, then
Then it
we would just spend less than the 19,800.
But I mean, is this coming out of the street improvement the money that we've already allotted for street improvement and drainage, or is this,
No, this is in the
this
reserve
is separate?
fund.
Okay.
Well, it's in the budgeted amount, but it's not funds that you've authorized for any other improvements at this point.
Okay.
So that would move the
Reserve.
project forward, and not stop it, but at the same time, if Commissioner Buskey was, able to convince Lowe's that it would be a nice thing for them to participate in this, that would be wonderful.
And news media, please don't print those comments. Please don't print that.
Okay, so a motion's in order then to authorize the expenditure not to exceed 19,870.
I'll make a motion, we authorize to expend no more than $19,870 for the, from the capital, street capital reserve fund for the purpose of constructing the hammerhead at Porthole Court.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Thanks, Randy. Okay. Next item on the agenda is the recommendations for the MIS replacements and upgrades. And who would like to introduce that?
Mayor, this evening we have Amy Miller, our Assistant Finance Director, is here this evening that can address that for us.
Great.
Amy?
Okay, Amy.
Basically what has been happening is we've been pushing some of our computer and hardware replacements back further and further because of the tight budget, and things are just basically coming crashing down on us right now. During Hurricane Irene, our email server crashed. It took 18 hours to get it back up. It's been spotty, and we're just kind of hoping, keeping our fingers crossed it doesn't happen again. So we need that replaced. There are some workstations that we have that are 7 to 8 years old. And when these older ones get replaced, right now Windows 7 is the only operating system that we can purchase. Visionaire, which is the police department software, won't run on Windows 7. So we have to upgrade Visionaire in the police department. The new Visionaire requires Office 2007 or higher. You can't buy Office 2007. You can only buy Office 2010. Office 2010 is conflicting with the Exchange software, which is 2003, so we need Exchange 2010. And so basically it's just a snowball effect on everything. But everything has come crashing down. And also, I don't want to forget the planning department. The software they have is no longer in business. So if something happened with that, they would have nothing to back. They'd have to go to pencil and paper, like Bev had talked to you about earlier. But there's no customer service, no support for the planning software whatsoever. So that would take just months of recreating work. So we're trying to save it before it crashes.
How soon, if we authorize this tonight, excuse me, could you get all this implemented?
We've received quotes for everything, so it's just a matter of calling them and getting it. The plan is to finance these things. We're not going to buy it outright. We're planning on including it with the Autocar residential bodies that we're replacing. So we would like to just include that with a 3-year financing. So it would cost about $10,000 this year to add these in addition to financing the.
How soon could you have it up and running?
I think they're as soon as they could order it, which would be immediately. But they're hoping that this gets approved because, like I said, who knows what can happen tomorrow.
Meredith, grants. Does this fall under any grant we can apply for?
I'm not sure about the police department, but I know the planning department software does not fall under any type of grant funding. And an email server wouldn't. I don't know about the police department. I don't do their grants, but Mark Evans is back there.
Dana?
Assistant chief, there's no grants that I'm aware of that's gonna cover our stuff.
Nothing for this? So y'all have checked? You have checked?
Yes, sir, on certain grants, we just can't find anything after the state.
Okay.
I know, as a board member, the way I access my email into the town to keep up with things that are exchanged is using webmail. And since I've been in office, at least 2 different occasions, because of issues with our server, I have not been able to access email, and that's gone for several days at a time.
It's
So-
embarrassing. I mean, today I had to email something to somebody from a bank, and they couldn't even print out what I sent them. So it's kind of embarrassing even at times. But yeah,
It's already
everybody's
starting
been
to
having-
impact our
Yep,
operations. a bit.
Exactly.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Well, and
Questions?
I will say this, I know, when I was talking with Nora about this, because I wanted to put it on my phone as well, because I've got my county email on my phone and my personal email on my phone, and I was asking her about that, and she said, you can't do that, with a Droid. She said, but I will tell you, several of the police officers have downloaded an app, but it costs $25 a month, and they just pay for it out of their pockets, and that's how they're accessing theirs. And I was like, really?
Give them a second email there. That's what I
So it's very disconcerting to be that far behind the times, and that if somebody really needs to access their email, that they're having to come out of pocket with that kind of money. So I think we're past time for something like this. So you got my support.
And it's my understanding this is kind of, we're in the predicament we're in because over the past several years we've been asking, the staff's been asked to tighten and tighten and tighten, and you guys have been trying to hold on as long as possible, but these have been needed for, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. We've had our MIT person that made this list, and there were several other things that got cut out of it, but these are the things that, like you said, are going to impact our operations, and we pretty much are going to get to the point where we can't function. I mean, especially, for example, like I said, the planning department, if something crashed with their software, I mean, so it's certainly not a want at this point. It's sort of a necessity.
Sure.
There's nothing that we put in here that that we just kind of want. It's impacting the way that we operate.
Okay.
I had a chance to talk to Assistant Chief a month or so ago, and we talked about the problems they were having with software and how very, very important it was that they get upgraded. And I know, of course, planning's important too. I don't know how long it's been since them used a pencil. So anyway, I'm totally in favor of it.
And I will say, I think this has been done at a pretty economical rate as well. I know. I mean, you could have done a much more expanded package and gotten the bells and the whistles. So I mean, I commend you for doing this at a as economically feasible as you possibly could have.
Okay, well, if it's the pleasure of the board, would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve new business item number 3.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you. Thanks. Okay, new business number 4 is appointment to the planning board. Ben Sproul's regular appointment on the planning board expires this March. He has expressed a desire to be reappointed for a regular 3-year term, which would then expire in March 2015. So I'll open the floor for discussion or comments on this.
I'll make a motion that we reappoint Ben Sproul to another 3-year term on the planning board. I think Ben does a great job, very knowledgeable, and I think he's served us well.
Yeah, I'll second that, and I'll also say, having been on the planning board, I can tell you that Ben is a very, very valuable member of that board, and he's very fair. He's a business person, but he's also a citizen. He lives right down the street from me, and has a family. And in my experience, whenever there was decisions to be made on the planning board, he would often maybe not often, but when it was appropriate, he would actually vote against his best interest as a business person because of his concern for the way that the job should be performed, and that is for everybody, not just for one single person or just for a business. So, yeah, I strongly support him.
Okay, so we have a first and a second, and any other discussion? Okay. All those in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great. All right, next on the agenda is the Commissioner's agenda. Let's start with you, Mayor Pro Tem.
I don't have anything tonight, thank you.
I thought I did, but I didn't.
Okay. Well, goodness, all right. Then we'll move on to Mayor's agenda. I do have a couple of things. The first thing, we'll take care of the stuff that's in your packet, and then I do have two other things that aren't in the packet. They're more of announcements. In the packet, the first thing is a resolution in opposition to imposed or increasing ferry system fees. The North Carolina Department of Transportation has proposed charging a fee for ferry travel between Hatteras and Ocracoke Islands. This service has historically been free. As well, they're proposing to increase charges for ferry routes, including the Cedar Island, Ocracoke, and Swan Quarter, and Ocracoke trips. There's documentation in the packet. The North Carolina 20 group or organization recently adopted the attached proclamation that we also have before us tonight in opposition of opposing these charges and increasing the fees. So I wanted to bring it before the board to see where we stand on that and if the board would be willing to also stand behind putting forth a resolution to oppose imposing or increasing the fees.
I would support this.
Yeah, I would also.
Yes.
Okay. That being said, would someone like to make the motion?
I'll make a motion that we adopt the resolution in opposition to imposing or increasing ferry system fees.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. All right, next item under Mayor's agenda is televising our Board of Commissioner meetings. This is something that probably some people may have first heard me mention back when I was campaigning. And basically it's twofold. One, to make sure people have an opportunity who can't come out and be present for a meeting time to stay informed of what's going on in the town. But also to try to keep or get more people engaged. Some people that do, believe it or not, watch Channel 20 on a regular basis. Nag's Head, Kitty Hawk, and the county are on there. And this would be a way to actually have our meetings not only recorded, but played on Channel 20. We have a relationship already as a town with the Government Education Channel, or the Government Education Access Channel. So the airing of our recorded meetings is part of that agreement. We've worked with town staff at looking at what would be the cost if we were to move forward with recording our meetings and starting to televise them. And I've put that together here in a memo. Basically, the bottom line would be it could cost up to $5,000. That would be looking at the main cost is having staff time to be here and to set up before the meeting, the cameras to record the meeting, and then some editing afterwards. And also to purchase the little cassettes that you need for each meeting. Those are $2.40 a cassette. The actual range that was presented based on the staff time could be anywhere from $2,800 to $5,000. It's hard to guess how long our meetings will go. If they stay like they're on track tonight, it would be certainly towards the lower end of that dollar amount. So, and certainly I appreciate Mr. Almany's or Chip's suggestion or willingness to volunteer. And if that could be arranged, that would be another way. If we could have someone else trained and involved, could even assist the staff, or if they couldn't be here one night, could tape a meeting that could help maybe even further reduce those costs. So anyway, so I bring this forward to basically see about your consideration and requesting your support to move forward with televising our meetings.
I think it's a great idea, but I think we need to budget the full amount, just in case Mr. Almany's not available, or for whatever reason something happens that he can't do it. I mean, I applaud him for volunteering to do this for little or no fee, but I think we need to plan for the range that you have here, just so that we know we have it covered. And maybe we might see fit to maybe pay him a little bit if he doesn't give so many comments during our meetings.
And I don't know. I'm not sure if Debbie, or I see John Towler's in the audience too. It's something we can look into. I don't know with our arrangement or agreement with Channel 20. Who, like, does it matter if you're a volunteer or you're an employee, or how that relationship works?
I know Mary has had some conversation along those lines, and with her not being here this evening, I'd really hate to speak for her on what was determined. There is another training session coming up shortly that another employee is going to be attending. John has already gone through that and is ready to start doing the taping. But we will certainly check into that tomorrow. And if it is something that the Channel 20 board is willing to allow volunteers, then we'll get in touch with Mr. Almany.
Okay, that would be great. And I do think it's worth mentioning here two other things. Mary and John did work with getting some outside quotes from other independent vendors, and the cost to do this with staff was much cheaper. I also think it's worth noting that Kitty Hawk budgets $7,500 annually for their recording, and Nag's Head budgets $19,500. So I just figured it's worth everyone noting that we're definitely there again trying to do this as tight fiscal management as possible.
And Ms. Mayor, one other thing I'd like to add as well, when you and I spoke about this a month or so ago, if we can get our IT staff to see if there's any way that this can be linked to our website so people don't have to wait until 8 p.m. on Tuesday when they're wanting to watch American Idol or something else, that it would be something that they could go on and view at any time. I don't know with the length of our meetings whether that's even feasible to do, but if we could get our staff to investigate whether we could somehow link these to the website so people could go view it whenever they wanted.
I think that's also something that Mary's been investigating once it all comes together, because a lot of people don't, if they don't get Charter, they don't get Channel 20.
Well, like me, I get satellite TV, so I
Right.
don't get Channel 20.
Right, so, I mean, that would also be advantageous for that situation, and not just with it being limited to the time frame.
Yeah, because I know, like, YouTube, those are usually short videos, but, we could be talking 2-3 hour videos. I don't know if you can do that.
I'm not
or
sure how the county does it, but I know they do
do
that.
it.
So,
and
we're
I'm glad
checking into that also.
I'm glad you brought that up, because the other thing that I really like about the way the county does it is you can go to a specific agenda item and it puts you right over to that segment of the meeting. So you don't have to try to fast forward. You can click on that. It'd be wonderful if we could somehow tap into that technology, because we will continue to do the spotlight on KDH segment.
Yes.
And that takes whatever time. I mean, we've been averaging 3 to 5 minutes to cover the briefs of what happens in a meeting. So if someone saw that YouTube clip and then knew they wanted to hear more about, let's say, a public hearing, they could go to that specific segment if we could model it after the counties. That'd be great.
And something else, since you brought that up, I don't know that you're aware of, obviously some are not. If you go to the county website, which is www.darrenc.com, for those of you that have DirecTV or do not have Channel 20, they do a direct streaming from Channel 20. So you can go from your computer, you can see, of course you have to be doing it at that same time. So if it's airing at, say, 8 o'clock on a Tuesday, you have to be in front of your computer at 8 o'clock on a Tuesday, but you can go to your computer at 8 o'clock on that Tuesday, go to the county website, and then there's a place on there, and I was not prepared to tell you this, so I can't tell you exactly what it is, but there's a place on there that says Channel 20, and you can watch it from there. So there's a direct stream on there that will go to Channel 20 because they're aware of the people that do not have access to cable TV. So, and again, their IT department might be a good place to start from the other, because not only do they have their entire Board of Commissioners meetings on the website, they also have a direct stream, which we don't want to go there, but it's pretty well. But they've evolved over time with this too, so we can't just jump right into it.
No, I'm in favor of it. I don't have anything negative to think about it. I had the same during the last 6 months or so when we talked about different things we wanted to accomplish. This is one of them, so I'm strongly in favor of this.
Okay. Then I guess a motion would be in order to set, not only to approve doing this, but to allocate up to $5,000 for,
Providing the service, yes, ma'am.
okay.
I will make the motion that we televise our meetings and allocate up to $5,000.
I'll second that.
Okay, any further?
Debbie, where's the money coming from?
We're still looking into that. If necessary, we would do fund balance, but we're just kind of trying to get a feel for it, because right now we're only talking about the rest of this fiscal year, and then come July, we would do the new budget. So we just want to get a feel for a little bit closer what we need, and if we can, we'll pull it out of somewhere in admin. And if not, then we'll do fund balance, but
But now, Miss Mayor, your numbers were yearly, right? That's not just
Right,
for the
so
rest
it's
of the
not a-
floor.
Yeah, so this year it won't be $5,000.
Right.
This year it'll
Right.
be.
And it's also, it's not a lump sum. It's paid basically after each meeting to the staff time.
right.
So,
We just got some more tweaking we've got to do, and if we can use Mr. Almany's services, wouldn't need anywhere near that much. So
okay. Okay, so we have
we
a,
won't be making a budget amendment in the short term until we have a little bit better idea of what we need. It may just wind up being a transfer.
Okay.
I was just wondering if we're going to have a microphone on the other side of the camera, so maybe somebody wants to say something.
okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Okay, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. And it's my understanding, since we have the equipment, and John, if I can put you on the spot, we ready to start immediately?
We
Or-
still have to borrow some equipment from the GovEd studios. We have one camera. Because you guys are so dark back there, it would be hard to see you on the videos. There would be lights and things that we need to bring in that our borrowing agreement allows us to borrow from them and use. And probably at a minimum 2 cameras, because you'll have speakers here, speakers there. And when you're swinging one camera back and forth, it tends to give your viewer a headache. So we'll still be borrowing equipment, but we'd be ready to go at the next meeting.
Does this include a makeup crew?
We didn't budget that. Okay, thank you. Let's see, I had a couple other things. One, I know we need to reschedule our retreat. And I think what I'd like to do, we have another meeting next Wednesday, just the way the calendars fall. Our next meeting, I believe, is a week from this Wednesday. So it's pretty quick, the turnaround. So I'm wondering if, especially since Commissioner Woodard, and he's not able to be with us tonight, he has a work conflict, but maybe we can look at bringing our calendars next week, so we could, at that meeting, go ahead and try to set the date for the retreat. So, I mean, we're at this point looking into March to schedule it sometime in March. So if you maybe could come prepared to look at our first 2 weeks of March to put out some dates. That sound
Got
okay?
one conflict in my head by then.
Okay. So we'll next Wednesday night go ahead and schedule the retreat. Would be the goal. And then the last thing I meant to do this at the last meeting and I forgot, but there's a couple of things that I wanted to note regarding our police department. I attended, goodness, Brandy, I know you did too, back in January, maybe the 16th of January. I think it was a Monday night. Our town police department, they led a presentation on gangs in the area, not just in Kildare Hills, but community-wide. And that was so well done and so well attended. It was standing room only. And the information that they had put together and the way they shared it was just absolutely wonderful. So I commend the officers. It's my understanding Lieutenant Farrow, Sergeant Henderson, Detective Johnson, and Officer Ruth were involved in preparing that presentation. It's a shame we didn't have that was done in collaboration with the League of Women Voters, and it's a shame that we weren't able or didn't record that, because I think it'd be something that would be very interesting to the public to hear about. But maybe that's something, since it was so well received then, we could orchestrate another one. If I'm hearing nods or seeing nods in the audience, maybe that's something we could do. But from my vantage point, it was awesome. So, and it was really neat too that night to see the support of each other in law enforcement with our officers. I mentioned the officers that put the program together, but Chief Britt, Assistant Chief Harris, Captain Evans, Captain Johns, Officer Drummond, and K-9 Officer Twitty, those guys, even though they weren't part of the program, were all there to support the officers who were putting on the program. So it was just a great event. And so thank you all for doing that. And then I also am just pleased with what I've heard about with a couple of the interventions or calls that our officers have done. The suicide by cop, where we were able to, our officers, prevent what could have been just an absolutely unfortunate circumstance. And then most recently reading about the meth lab bust at a hotel. So some good work that I just thought would be worth noting with the police department. That being said, that is all I have on my agenda. And next on the agenda is the town manager's agenda.
No, ma'am, thank you.
Okay. Town attorney's agenda.
I don't have anything for you except to say I'm happy to be here and look forward to working with all of you and the staff.
Thank you.
Good to have you back, Steve.
Thank you, Paul.
Okay, the consent agenda.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. 2 items on the consent agenda this evening. The first is approval of minutes for the January 25th and 31st and the February 3rd, 2012 meeting. Also, some changes to the cash management policy. The town adopted a cash management policy back in 1987, and periodically, for various reasons, we do request changes to the board. And this evening, the ones that you see reflect the deletions with strike-throughs and the addition with underlines. And basically, the gist of these changes is just keeping up with new cash management policies and helping our finance department be able to invest our monies and to earn the highest interest while at the same time maintaining the safety of these funds. So with that said, I would ask for the board to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
I'll second. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Okay, all those in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Next on our agenda is the second opportunity for public comment. There weren't anyone signed up, but it's great.
Hi, I'm Beverly Boswell, 321 Jean Court. I have a little concern. First of all, I want to commend the town on the cleanup and the reconstruction of all the havoc that was wreaked by the hurricane. But I was wondering when the Bay Drive gazebo, Bay Drive in Hayman, is going to be repaired, because I like to go down there. Love y'all. Mean it. And I did want to throw out one thing about the taping of the meetings. You should really enlist the help of the First Flight High School students, the media students, who would love to come down here and show you their expertise. They would be a great partner for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, all right, and then Mr. Lex. You jumped up first, so.
Sorry.
No.
Watch it, Bill.
Hello, the name is Bill Schmidt. Some of you know me, some of you don't. I'm an expatriate of the planning board. I heard your comments tonight about televising the board meeting. I think that's an excellent idea. And any way you can get more public participation to any of the boards would be highly desirable in this town, because most of the time you just have a few do much and most do nothing. So if you can get more people interested or avail themselves to what is being said and what is being done, it'd be a great idea. The only problem I had with it, I thought the people who have Dish and DirecTV and perhaps in the future Fios won't be available to this service, won't be available to them. And Mr. Buskey made a comment about perhaps getting it some way to get on the computer. That would be fine for those of us who are computer literate, but many are not. So any way you could facilitate this to go to those people who don't have charter, and I won't have charter, it would be highly desirable.
Thank you. Mr. Loeck.
Michael Loack, 106 Porthole Court. Good evening. My question is more of a curiosity. Now that I've seen the stakes out at the end of the street, and to see where they're actually going to put that hammerhead in, my first question is right over here, across from where the kangaroo is that aviation back in there? Right on the corner of 158 and, okay, aviation. I noticed that there's two similar streets to Porthole Court that are currently blocked off at 158. Are there any hammerheads there? Or how is the turnarounds facilitated in that particular area? Because I do know Porthole Court differs a little bit from that aviation and the other street that branches off of it in the fact that we actually have a wide open cul-de-sac right at the L. So I'm wondering if we're going along with what's already there, or if we're putting in something that's up to a more current, or what I'd like to call today's standards. And my second question is, or thought, in conjunction to where the stakes are and the fact that we're planning on using concrete instead of asphalt, is there any way that we can get right up as close as we can to where the little culvert would be right off of 158, using the slope of the concrete to actually keep the integrity of the culvert, thusly moving the whole project out, as close to 158 as we can, or if in fact there's restrictions with the DOT setbacks and how much they need. I'm just curious. I'd like to know. I don't know who else to ask, so I'm asking. Thanks.
Thank you. Does anyone else like to speak at public comment? Okay. Well, thank you all for those of you who did speak. Now we have response to public comment, and we'll first to Ms. Boswell. Thank you. I'm going to in fact, it's interesting you talked about this because Greg Loy and I just spoke about it, and I think it's going to be on the agenda maybe next Wednesday. But do you want to add a couple of comments now, and then you could do a presentation?
About Heyman Pier.
Is that? Yeah.
About the gazebo at Heyman Pier.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at the revised plans, the final plans for the repair job on that today, and Meredith has been pretty much in charge of that project, and she could probably get into it if you wanted to. You could either talk to her later, or she could give you a briefing now about the steps that you have to go through to get federal money through the state to repair a pier. And it's not quite as complicated as Amy's email server analysis, but it certainly bears some resemblance. But you're meeting the federal projects to get state reimbursement, and we're in the throes of that now, trying to get everything approved before we pull the trigger on telling the contractor to go out there and go to work. So we haven't even put the bid, it's not out to bid yet, and it's going to be informal bid. It's a small project. We anticipate that hopefully going out this week. Anything else, Meredith?
This week.
Not this week, okay. See, I was just being optimistic, Beverly.
One thing to add to that, Meredith and I met with the town's engineer in we did come up with some ways we think we're going to save some money there.
Yes, sir, and they've been incorporated into the plans that are being reviewed by staff right now, which is what the structural engineer and the civil engineer about. I will, just briefly, there was 2 applications made at Hayman Pier. One was for the repair of the pier, and one was to stabilize a mitigation grant, or mitigation funds to stabilize the shoreline so that in the event of another storm, we wouldn't lose our infrastructure being Bay Drive. And the pier repairs, we got the letter today, that has been approved by the state. It'll be funded 75% by the federal government, 25% by the state. The mitigation portion of the project, we needed to have a CAMA general permit for that, and they've held the approval until the general permit is in hand, meaning the state CAMA representative tomorrow on site at 11, where I hope to have the general permit in my hand by 11:30, which I will then email to the state and hopefully have that approval in the next couple of weeks. The reason I said to Greg, I would like to have all of our approvals from the state prior to bidding it out and dedicating funds to something in case there's more questions, or the state has some questions or wants to tweak those numbers. We want to be aware of that before we send it out to bid. So that's where we are with that, and hopefully we'll have that approval at least by email in the next couple weeks. So there's 2 different projects with it, and it'll be by warrant.
The repairs, you're predicting the repairs would be done certainly before the season gets here. Okay.
That's definitely the plan.
Okay, great. Okay. And Beverly, it was a very appropriate question because I've had a couple of people ask that, and that's what prompted my call, so thank you. Next, Mr. Schmidt had spoken about the charter, and so we'll look into your idea. Certainly, you've noted that as far as trying to tie it to the website. And then, isn't there a way, too, that these recordings can be checked out somewhere? Or I don't know what's involved in doing that. I guess, does Nags Head and Dare County, do they keep copies somewhere that people can check out?
Yeah, one thing I was going to say, and I don't know what your thought was on this. I know what the county does is they actually have one at the library, which is sometimes really hard to, it's very delayed in getting there and doing that. What I'm willing to do, and I'll actually do this at our cost, is I'll make a copy if you'll get me because I'm assuming you're doing it on VHS.
Well, there are many DV tapes that they're recorded on, and then it has to be transferred to the computer for using Final Cut for editing. The end product can be exported to a DV.
Yeah, that's.
If it's small enough, it might take several, depending on how big it is.
Yeah.
But it is possible to put it on media that can be checked out.
Yeah, I was going to say we could do it to DVD, which is what the county does. So do you have a DVD player? Yeah, most people now have a DVD player. So I was going to say older adult services will do that, and if you want, and then we can have it there. The only thing we do is we necessitate that people watch it on site. So I mean we have DVD players there and televisions and nice places where people can watch it. So if you want to check it out, then we'd have to do that differently. But I beg your pardon?
If it's on the DVD, I could put it on my laptop.
Absolutely. Then you could put it on your laptop, record it, and take it with you. So, yep. And we have wireless internet there, so you can. But yeah, we can do that there. So.
Okay. Good solutions. Okay. And then Mike's questions and comments.
The reason I think I haven't had any at the end is to turn around the area for cars and emergency vehicles that aren't in driveways. We get a lot of complaints, or have complaints about dead ends where there's no turnaround, and buses and all kinds of vehicles end up using private driveways as turnarounds. That's not good. And then the other question you had was it on drainage, or was it out in the DOT right of way?
It was about the location, how far up, because when I look at where the stakes are, I don't know how many feet back from 158 is, but it seems considerable.
We are right on the line.
You're right on the line.
Yes. That's all we can work with now. That's all the most work is our property.
Okay, so what you're saying is, no place in aviation, there's a hammerhead for turnaround, so they're using those people's driveways.
Yeah, and maybe we could put them in there. I'm not sure how big aviation is. I'm not sure if that's 50 foot, but this is a new situation, so we're gonna have to do it right.
That's all I wanted to know.
Great. Okay. Anything else from anyone? Otherwise, we can make a motion to adjourn.
Well, just add one thing to what Randy just said, Mike. If you remember back when this whole process first started, this is something the town normally doesn't allow. So we don't really have standards for hammerheads because it's not something the town really allows to do. This is a special case that we're doing for the folks on Porthole Court. So we really don't have standards for hammerheads because we don't allow them. So this is something pretty much totally new for us for right now.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone like a motion? Make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Good night. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Don't know.
I don't know.
Wow.
I know. And put your foot up.
Yep. That's where I'm headed.
Thank you.
It's a present.